Why can't you stop procrastinating? You sit down with every intention of being productive. Your laptop is open. The document is ready. The deadline is getting closer. You tell yourself you'll begin in just a second. But first, you check one notification, then another. A quick scroll turns into 10 minutes. 10 minutes become 30. Before you realize it, an entire hour has disappeared. You close the app, frustrated. You promise yourself that tomorrow will be different. Yet tomorrow often looks exactly the same. If this has ever happened to you, it's easy to believe there's something wrong with your self-control. Maybe you've even called yourself lazy. Maybe you've wondered why other people seem capable of working while your brain constantly looks for an escape. But the real answer is far stranger. The force pulling you away from important work is older than your job, older than school, older than money, older than civilization itself. It was built into your brain long before the first city was ever constructed. To understand why you procrastinate today, you have to travel back tens of thousands of years to a world where there were no calendars, no meetings, and no deadlines, only survival, because the brain inside your skull is far older than the modern world around you. And that changes everything. Most people think procrastination is simply bad behavior, a lack of discipline, a weakness of character. The advice usually sounds familiar. Just work harder. Stop making excuses. Be more motivated. It sounds reasonable. But if procrastination were only a matter of willpower, why would millions of intelligent, ambitious, and successful people struggle with it every single day? Why do doctors delay writing reports? Why do students postpone studying until the night before an exam? Why do entrepreneurs avoid the one task that could grow their business? Why do artists stare at a blank page even when they desperately want to create? These people aren't lazy. In many cases, they're highly capable. So the explanation has to be something deeper. The truth is that your brain wasn't designed to succeed in the 21st century. It wasn't designed to answer emails. It wasn't designed to prepare presentations. It wasn't designed to spend 8 hours looking at glowing screens. Your brain evolved in a completely different world. Imagine waking up around 40,000 years ago. The air is cold. The ground is uneven. There are no alarms waking you for work, no productivity apps reminding you to stay focused, no weekly planner hanging on the wall. Instead, every sunrise begins with one question. Will you survive today? Food isn't guaranteed. Safety isn't guaranteed. Even tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Every decision matters because every decision costs energy, and energy is precious. Your ancestors couldn't waste calories chasing goals that offered no immediate benefit. Every movement had a price. Walking for hours, climbing hills, tracking animals, building shelter, escaping predators. Everything demanded energy, and once that energy was gone, replacing it wasn't easy. This simple reality shaped the brain you still carry today. Over thousands of generations, evolution favored brains that used energy carefully. Not because those brains were lazy, because they were efficient. Think of your brain as an ancient survival machine. Its first priority has never been making you productive. Its first priority has always been keeping you alive. That means constantly asking one silent question. Is this worth the effort? When the answer feels uncertain, your brain hesitates. When the reward feels distant, your brain looks for something easier. Not because it wants you to fail, because for most of human history, conserving energy often increased the chances of survival. The modern world has changed almost beyond recognition. Your brain hasn't. And that ancient mismatch explains far more about your daily struggles than most people ever realize. Because the battle you're fighting isn't between laziness and discipline. It's between a prehistoric survival system and a modern world it was never designed to navigate. And the deeper you look into that ancient system, the stranger the story becomes. Why can't you stop procrastinating? Your Stone Age brain and the dopamine misunderstanding. Imagine standing on an open plain 40,000 years ago. The sun has barely risen. The air is cold enough to sting your skin. You haven't eaten since yesterday. Somewhere beyond the trees, a herd of animals may be moving across the valley. Somewhere else, a predator could already be watching. Every choice matters. Walk in the wrong direction, and you waste precious energy. Take too many risks, and you may never return. Stay still for too long, and hunger becomes its own danger. For your ancestors, survival wasn't about being busy. It was about making the smartest decision with the least amount of energy. That is why your brain became an expert at one thing, saving effort whenever it could. Today, that sounds like a flaw. Back then, it was a superpower. Your brain is one of the most energy-hungry organs in your body. Even though it makes up only a small percentage of your body weight, it uses a remarkable amount of your daily energy. Thinking deeply, solving unfamiliar problems, and maintaining intense focus all require effort. So your brain developed a simple strategy. Whenever possible, automate. Whenever possible, repeat what already works. Whenever possible, avoid unnecessary effort. Think about walking. You don't consciously tell each muscle how to move. Your brain has turned walking into an automatic pattern. The same is true for brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, or driving a familiar route. Automation saves energy, and the brain loves saving energy. Now consider a difficult project you've been avoiding. Maybe it's writing a report, preparing for an exam, learning a new skill, or having a conversation you've been putting off for weeks. Unlike walking, none of these tasks are automatic. They require planning, concentration, decision-making, and uncertainty. To your ancient brain, uncertainty is expensive. It doesn't know exactly how much effort the task will require or when the reward will arrive. So it begins searching for an easier option. That easier option is usually close by. A quick message, one more video, a glance at social media, checking the news, organizing your desk instead of starting the real work. Each distraction feels small, almost harmless, but together, they quietly steal hours from your life. This brings you to one of the biggest myths about procrastination. You've probably heard that dopamine is the brain's pleasure chemical. It's a catchy phrase, but it's also incomplete. Dopamine doesn't simply appear because something feels good. A better way to understand it is this. Dopamine helps your brain notice opportunities that might be worth pursuing. It fuels anticipation, the feeling that something rewarding could be just around the corner. Imagine your ancestors spotting fresh footprints in the mud. Those tracks might lead to food. That possibility alone could make the brain pay attention and encourage action, even before any reward was found. Today, your brain responds to modern signals in a surprisingly similar way. A notification appears. Someone liked your post. A new video is recommended. An email arrives. A game offers another level. Each one whispers the same message. There might be something interesting here. Your brain becomes curious, not because the reward is guaranteed, because the possibility of a reward captures your attention. Thousands of years ago, that curiosity could help your ancestors discover food, water, or shelter. Today, the same ancient system is surrounded by phones, apps, advertisements, and endless streams of new information. The modern world has learned how to compete for your attention. Every swipe promises something new. Every click offers another surprise. Every notification invites your brain to chase one more possibility. Compared with that constant stream of immediate rewards, writing a report that won't be finished for 3 weeks feels strangely quiet. Studying for an exam next month feels emotionally distant. Saving money for retirement feels almost invisible. Your brain isn't calculating what matters most. It's reacting to what feels most immediate. And in today's world, immediate rewards are everywhere. But even this doesn't explain the deepest mystery. If you already know that procrastination hurts your future, if you genuinely want to finish the task, if you understand exactly what you should do, then why does your brain still resist? The answer lies in a hidden mental shortcut that once helped your ancestors survive, but now quietly shapes almost every important decision you make. Why can't you stop procrastinating? Why your brain chooses today over tomorrow? You already know that finishing your work today will make tomorrow easier. You know exercising is better than staying on the couch. You know saving money is wiser than buying something you don't need. So why does your brain keep making the opposite choice? The answer begins with a simple truth. Your brain doesn't experience the future the way you think it does. To your conscious mind, next week feels close. Next month seems real. Next year is easy to imagine. But deep inside your brain, the future is strangely blurry. The present feels certain. The future feels like a possibility. And your brain has always trusted certainty more than possibility. Psychologists have a name for this pattern. It's called temporal discounting. The phrase sounds complicated, but the idea is surprisingly simple. A reward today usually feels more valuable than a larger reward that arrives much later. Imagine someone gives you a choice. You can receive $20 today or $30 1 month from now. Many people know the second option is objectively better, yet a surprising number still choose the smaller reward immediately. Not because they can't do math, because the human brain naturally gives extra value to what it can have right now. This isn't a modern weakness, it's an ancient survival strategy. Imagine living 30,000 years ago. You discover ripe fruit growing nearby. Should you eat it now or leave it untouched because there might be even more fruit somewhere else tomorrow? Your ancestors rarely had the luxury of certainty. A storm could arrive, another group could find the food first, animals could eat it before sunrise. Tomorrow wasn't guaranteed. Taking the reward today often increased the chances of survival. Evolution remembered that lesson. Your brain still carries it. Now imagine sitting in front of your computer. One choice offers immediate comfort. Check your phone, watch one short video, make another cup of coffee, do literally anything except begin. The other choice offers a reward that won't arrive for weeks. Finish the project, earn the promotion, graduate with better grades, build a healthier body, write the first chapter of your book. Objectively, those future rewards are far more valuable, but emotionally, they often feel distant. Your ancient brain quietly whispers the same message heard thousands of generations ago. Take the reward that's available now. This is why procrastination can feel almost automatic. You're not carefully deciding to avoid your work. Your brain is following an old survival rule before your conscious mind even has time to argue. But something else is happening beneath the surface. Something even more powerful. Think about the last task you kept postponing. Was it difficult? Maybe. But difficulty isn't always the real problem. Sometimes the task simply felt unclear. Where should you begin? How long will it take? What if you fail? What if your work isn't good enough? The moment uncertainty enters the picture, your brain becomes cautious. Remember your ancestors standing at the edge of an unfamiliar forest. Walking into unknown territory could lead to food. It could also lead to danger. When the outcome wasn't clear, hesitation sometimes kept people alive. Your modern brain reacts in a surprisingly similar way. Except now, the danger isn't a predator. It's emotional discomfort, the possibility of failure, the fear of making mistakes, the uncertainty of not knowing whether your effort will pay off. Your brain doesn't always distinguish between physical threats and psychological ones. Both create stress. Both require energy. Both encourage avoidance. This explains something almost everyone experiences. You don't usually procrastinate on activities that feel easy and familiar. You rarely delay watching your favorite show. You don't postpone scrolling through your phone. You don't struggle to begin something that already feels comfortable. Instead, you delay the things that carry uncertainty. The conversation you've been avoiding, the business you've dreamed about starting, the difficult chapter you need to study, the creative project no one has seen yet, the gym after months away. The first step always feels heavier than it really is, and that feeling is exactly where procrastination begins. But here's the twist. Your brain isn't trying to ruin your future. It's trying to protect you from immediate discomfort. Ironically, that protection often creates even greater stress later. One missed day becomes one missed week. One delayed assignment becomes an all-night rush. One postponed decision slowly grows into a problem that feels impossible to ignore. The very system that evolved to keep your ancestors safe can quietly trap you in a cycle of delay. But if procrastination is really your brain's attempt to protect you, then forcing yourself through guilt and self-criticism may actually make the problem worse. So what does work? The answer isn't more motivation. It's something far more surprising. And it begins by changing the way your brain sees the first step. Why can't you stop procrastinating? Stop fighting your brain. By now, something should feel different. The voice inside your head that keeps saying, "I'll do it later," doesn't sound quite as mysterious anymore. It isn't proof that you're lazy. It isn't evidence that you lack intelligence. And it certainly doesn't mean you're incapable of success. In many ways, it's simply the echo of a brain that evolved for a world that no longer exists. But understanding the problem is only half the journey. The real question is this. If your brain naturally avoids effort, how do you move forward anyway? Most people believe the answer is motivation. They wait until they feel inspired. They watch another productivity video. They read another book. They promise themselves that tomorrow they'll wake up with more energy, more discipline, and a completely different mindset. Sometimes that works. Most of the time, it doesn't. Because motivation is like the weather. Some days it's bright, some days it's gone. If your progress depends on always feeling motivated, your future will always depend on something you can't fully control. Your ancestors couldn't afford to wait until they felt like gathering food or building shelter. Life demanded action, whether the mood was right or not. The same principle still applies today. The people who consistently make progress are rarely the ones who feel motivated every morning. They're often the ones who make starting easier than avoiding. That sounds almost too simple, but your brain responds to simple. Remember, your brain is constantly asking one silent question: how much effort will this require? When the answer seems enormous, your brain hesitates. When the answer feels small, resistance begins to fade. Imagine standing at the bottom of a mountain. Looking at the peak can feel overwhelming. Now imagine someone says, "Don't climb the mountain, just take one step." That single step doesn't feel threatening. And once you've taken it, the second step becomes easier. This is exactly how your brain works. The hardest part of almost any task is not finishing it, it's beginning. Researchers who study habits have found that small, repeatable actions are much easier to maintain than dramatic bursts of effort. Your brain loves patterns. Every time you repeat the same behavior in the same context, your brain slowly reduces the mental effort required to perform it. At first, writing for 10 minutes feels difficult. After enough repetition, opening the document begins to feel almost automatic. The task hasn't changed. Your brain has. This is why routines can be more powerful than willpower. Willpower asks you to make the right decision over and over again. A routine removes many of those decisions entirely. Your ancestors depended on predictable patterns. They often followed familiar paths to water, returned to reliable food sources, built shelters in places they understood, repeated successful behaviors because repetition increased the chances of survival. Your modern brain still trusts repetition. Use that to your advantage. Another strategy is surprisingly simple. Reduce the number of decisions you have to make before starting. If your running shoes are already by the door, exercising requires less effort. If your phone is in another room, distractions become less tempting. If your notebook is already open on your desk, writing feels closer. These tiny changes may seem insignificant, but they change the environment your brain responds to. And your environment often shapes your behavior more than your intentions do. There's one final lesson that many people overlook. Stop measuring success by how motivated you felt. Measure it by whether you showed up. Some days you'll accomplish a great deal. Some days you'll barely make progress. That's normal. Your ancestors didn't catch food every single hunt. They survived because they kept returning. Again and again and again. Consistency quietly defeated perfection. The same is true for you. The life you build isn't created by one extraordinary day. It's created by hundreds of ordinary days that most people never notice. So the next time you sit down to work and feel that familiar urge to delay, pause for a moment. Remember the ancient brain inside your skull. Remember that it evolved to save energy, avoid uncertainty, and chase immediate rewards. Then smile, because now you understand something your ancestors never had the chance to know. You are not trapped by your instincts. You can recognize them. You can design your environment around them. You can make the first step so small that your ancient brain no longer sees it as a threat. And every time you choose that first small step, you're doing something extraordinary. You're teaching a brain shaped by thousands of generations to thrive in a world it was never designed for. The next time you catch yourself saying, "I'll do it later," remember this. That voice is ancient, but the choice is yours. And perhaps the most remarkable part of human evolution isn't the brain your ancestors gave you. It's your ability to understand it and choose what happens next.